Hello, everyone. Dr. Larry Earl here, Urgent Care Mentor. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to demonstrate the DOT exam software that I've told you I'm pretty excited about. First, I just want to give you a little bit of background. I think most of you know me, but just to review, I've been in urgent care and occupational medicine for about 30 years. And when I ran my urgent care centers in New Jersey, we always did a ton of DOT physicals. And at one point, we had developed 5 DOT-only clinics in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. And this was back in 2007, 2008. So, way before there was an NRCME, and we certainly didn't have an EMR system at that point. So we had MDs, PAs, and a chiropractor performing these exams in these clinics. But I needed some consistency in the way that these exams were conducted. So that's when I actually developed my first DOT examiner training course, was for my own providers back then. And then you may know, I eventually hooked up with NADME, the National Academy of DOT Medical Examiners, became the medical director in 2012, and co-developed the CME certification course that many of you have taken. Now, I've used several EMRs over the years, and I've always been frustrated with the absence of any sort of a DOT exam component incorporated into these EMRs. So a couple of years ago, I actually started working with an urgent care EMR company, a fairly new one that was in urgent care, to develop a DOT exam module for their system. But then, as often software companies do, they made a deal with another company, actually Henry Schein, and decided to move in a more primary care direction. So my DOT project got the kibosh. But fortunately, over the last year or so, at least 8 or 9 months now, I've been working with Rich Fry and the folks over at 3B Exam. And we compared notes about what I was trying to do to accomplish with the DOT exam application and the content that we've developed for the NRCME series that some of you are involved with. And here's just a list of those things. The kind of things that we were looking to accomplish. So the first thing really was just to make sure that we were accurate, I know even now that there are examiners that are getting exams sent back to them from a DMV. Oftentimes it's just due to technical mistakes on the form. So you just want to have something that's accurate. We wanted it to be web-based so that you can use it from pretty much any device. We wanted the drivers to be able to complete their section before coming in for the exam to get things expedited. We go through in the NRCME seminar series that we do every month, we go through all these different issues. And one of the sessions that we had recently was on medications and which ones are prohibited, what's your cautionary, how do you handle those? So, I've spoken with Rich and Rob over at 3B, and we've compared some of the lists of medications, and they have a real nice system of alerts to start looking at some of these. And again, they're not going to tell you that you can never do things, but they're going to show you alerts on certain things like what's prohibited, what's cautionary. We want to have the document creation, obviously automatically, the exam form and the certificate. We wanted to have a complete audit trail, of course, and obviously we wanted it to be able to submit all of the data that you now have to submit manually to the National Registry without having to repeat that process manually, either you or your assistants. That's just annoying, right? And finally, we wanted to have a way for the motor carriers clients to be able to get their certificates immediately. So there's a client portal that we're going to walk through as well. So all these things have been, put into the system that you're going to see today. So I want to turn this over to Rich Fry. He's going to walk you through the software. And if you have questions during his presentation, just type them into the chat box. Again, the chat icon is up in the upper right-hand portion of your screen. It'll open up a side window that you can look for chat. And I'll be monitoring that as Rich shows you around the software, and I'll bring up questions at the appropriate time. And at the end, I'm going to come back on and I'm just going to give you a few details about the offer that we have for you today, if this is something you're interested in, because not only is this very affordable, it's going to save you tons of time and expense in the long run, but we're going to give you some free access to the NRCME seminar series when you activate your account. So hang on and I'll give you some details about that. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over to Rich. Rich Fry, welcome.
Thanks, Larry.
Okay, great. Thanks. So just a quick background on the 3B exam. So 3B exam is a solution that we developed, or at least started developing, about 4 years ago. And so we've actively been selling and marketing it for a little over 3 years. Designed specifically for DOT certified medical examiners to streamline and simplify the DOT exam process. Very focused on accuracy and compliance. And so it's a browser-based application, which means you can use 3B exam from any device with a browser and an internet connection. So laptop, a tablet, a PC, even a smartphone. And so the idea is that you're going to complete the exam forms using our intelligent data collection interface, which includes error checking, validation, alerts on critical conditions for the providers. The drivers have the ability to complete their sections of the exam form remotely before they arrive if they have appointments, or when they arrive in the office, you can hand them a tablet instead of a clipboard and paper form so that they can do their sections electronically when they're in the office. Once the exams are completed, we automatically report the results to the FMCSA. That's automatic and electronic, generally the same day or the next day from the date the exam is completed. We do that for each examiner that's in our system. We save everything electronically, so you have complete access for audit trails and historic records. And then we have a client access portal that lets you share the documents and the data and the results with the employers that you're providing services for, so that they can manage their driver lists and schedule exams, and even send those links out to their drivers so that they can pre-fill their information. They can run renewal reports so they know when their drivers' certificates expire, and they can get those scheduled with you on time. So what you're looking at here is our dashboard. This is what you would see when you first log in, and depending on who you are as a user, you might access different parts of this. So very easily, just looking, if you sort of look down towards the middle of the page, you can see the active exam list. So it's very easy to see the names of and the dates of the exams and for the drivers that you'll be working with today. Don't pay too much attention to the dates and the times, because this is a demo system. And today we're going to be working with a driver named Larry Miller. He's the second one down, and he's exam ID 6283. And we're going to go there in a minute, but I just want to point out a couple of other things on the dashboard. So right above the active exams, you see a button that says My Tasks. That lets you jump into your specific tasks. Again, depending on who you are as a user, your tasks might be different. So for example, an examiner's tasks are going to be their scheduled and ready exams. Pending documents are paper documents in addition to the forms. So things like letters, waivers, additional tests that you've ordered that you want to scan and upload and attach to the driver's record, so you have a complete documentation of anything else related to that exam. In our system, a pending exam is one that's been requested by one of the companies you're working with. So those appear in a pending exam queue, and then you either confirm or decline those to get them on your schedule. And of course, there's a calendar that someone can manage to keep everything organized. So I'm going to scroll back down a little bit further below the active exam list, and you can also see your recently completed exams. So we display the 10 most recently completed exams. If you needed to go into one of those to edit information or to do a reprint, they're right there on the dashboard. Of course, you can always do very granular searches to find any particular exam for a particular driver on a particular date for a specific company that you're looking for at any time. So here's the list of exams that we have for today. And again, we're going to work with Larry Miller. He's exam ID 6283. And I just want to point out to the left, there are some icons that appear next to each exam. Next to Larry, you'll see a small green page icon. Looks like a page with the corner turned down. That's going to take us into the electronic interface, and I'll show you that in just a sec. But just above that, if you look at Roger Waters and below that Robert Weir, you see that they also have a little icon that looks like a computer monitor. So that tells me at a glance that those two drivers haven't yet completed their sections. Either they didn't pre-fill it at home or they're still working on it in the waiting room. And so if one of those drivers walks in, if Roger Waters walks in and he's scheduled, I could easily click that icon on my tablet and hand that to him so that he could complete his sections electronically. But in this case, we're going to work with Larry. So I'm going to click on the green page, and that'll take us into the interface. So what you see here is we're in the driver section, and if you look along the top, you see all the different tabs or the different sections that represent the various sections of the standard 5875 long form that you're used to working with. I'm in here as an administrator and as an examiner, so I see everything. If I was logged in here on the tablet, or if I was a driver that was pre-filling this from home, I wouldn't see any of the provider sections. All I would see would be the driver and the health, the privacy, and possibly this optional release tab that gives the driver a place to sign, releasing and allowing you to share their information with their employer. This is obviously not part of the standard form, but it's something that you can use if you'd like. You can customize the content of the release, and you can require the signature if you'd like, and you can turn that tab completely off. There's a privacy statement, and then the driver basic demographic information, which they would complete. We make sure that everything with an asterisk is completed. Otherwise, we don't let them go on to the next section, which is the health history. Once they're on the health history, this one is already filled out, but when they first log in here, all of these questions are blank. So they're forced to answer each one yes, no, or not sure. If they answer yes to medications, we provide them with a drop-down list of medications. Now, I'm not sure if you see my drop-down menu. Sometimes in GoToMeeting, depending on your browser, you won't see the drop-down menu. So if you don't see that, you just have to trust me that when I click on that little green arrow next to insert, there's a drop-down window that's got about 500 alphabetically listed medications. So the driver can easily choose. And in this case, I'm just going to choose Advair Discus, and I'll click insert, and you'll see that it appears in the list. If they don't see their medication there, they can easily add it manually. As they move down, we make sure that they answer all of the health history questions, yes, no, or not sure. Those are all blank, and they have to choose one of them. If they click yes to any of those answers, we force them to add a response for their yes answers, and we number those based on the question that they responded to. So you don't have to spend extra time combing through the form to make sure that they answered all 32 questions. And if they did answer yes, making sure that they made a comment. We take care of that for you. And then at the bottom on their tablet, they can just sign with their finger or with a stylus. I'm going to move through to the next sections now, which are all the provider sections. So unlike the driver sections where we force them to do things in order, and we don't let them save anything unless it's completed, for the provider sections, we let you go through these in any order that you want, because we realize that the order of the tabs or the order of the sections is not necessarily the order of your specific workflow, and you can have multiple people doing different sections. So each person would go into their section, complete the area that they're responsible for. Everyone can view whatever anyone else added. So, you know, the person doing vision and hearing can see the driver's health history, and so on. We make sure that we do a global validation and an error check at the end so that there are no missing checkboxes, comment fields, signatures and dates are all accurate, etc. So this is the comment section. This is where the driver is going to be making comments regarding the driver's health, or the examiner is going to be making comments regarding the driver's health history. And what's nice here is that we show them a snapshot. So we show you what the yes answers are, the questions that they answered yes to, what their responses were, what their medication, surgery, and other health history questions are. So again, they don't have to go and look through that on the health history. It's right there for them to view. Plenty of room to type comments, and then you can build personalized lists of frequently used comments that can easily be inserted. So anywhere in the system that we can use drop-down menus for the values instead of typing, it's going to speed you through the form, get you to the end quicker, and also reduce typos. So again, you're not going to see my drop-down menus, but trust me that I'm clicking on the little down arrow, and I'm clicking something that says overweight needs to be on BP med, and I'm inserting it, and then you'll see it appear in the comments section. You can edit those comments, and you can add to them as you see fit. Moving through to the vision and the hearing, again, everywhere you see a down arrow, there's a drop-down menu for those values. So under the right eye uncorrected, it says 15, 20, 25, 30, 40, 50. So you don't have any typos. You can just click and move. Same thing in the hearing section, the BP and the pulse. In addition to the height and weight under the measurements, we automatically do a BMI calculation. We give you an optional field for a neck size or a smoker, non-smoker question, and you can copy that information to your exam notes since there's no specific place for that on the form. In our next release, we're also adding a sleep tab, which will be optional so that you'll be able to collect information for the stop bang questionnaire and also ask questions related to the most recent FMCSA medical board guidelines. So if you're pre-screening candidates for sleep studies, the neck size and the smoker and the BMI will help you with that. 2 places for your blood pressure and a place for the pulse. Lab tests, same thing. Drop-down menus where you see those little down arrows for all of your readings. So, for example, under the protein, I see something that says negative and trace and 0 and +1. So if I just hit trace there, you'll see it insert into that field. Now we're on the physical tab. So this is where the examiner is doing their hands-on physical. They can answer each one of these questions normal or abnormal, or they can click them all one way or the other and then just toggle back the ones that they need to. There are frequently used comments here as well that'll be numbered based on the section that they apply to. And you can see there where I've inserted that BMI and neck size and smoker, non-smoker information. We also provide the examiner with a summary button. So as they're doing the physical, if they want to refer back to the other information that's collected, they don't have to go in and out of all the tabs. They can just bring up this window and either scroll through it to review the information that's been provided and collected, or if they want, they could just, for example, click the BP and it'll jump right to the BP and pulse section so that they can see that information while they're on the physical tab without having to go back and forth. And they can open and close that window as they need to. Finally is the certification tab. So this is where you fill out all the information for the certificate based on your determination. We'll automatically check the corrective lenses and hearing aid boxes depending on the information on the vision and the hearing tabs. We don't automatically qualify or disqualify any drivers. We don't force you to give the driver a 3-month card or a 1-year card, but what we do is when you go to certify the driver, we look at a number of critical conditions and medications that could be limiting or disqualifying. And based on that, we'll give you these exam notices, which are really friendly reminders and alerts so that you don't forget some obvious things. And these will help you to give the driver either the correct certificate or possibly order some additional testing or services. So once you've got that all correct, we take you to the complete tab. This is the only place that you do have to be logged in as a certified medical examiner. This is basically the provider signing off on the exam. All the information that you see displayed here is part of the examiner's profile, which is set up ahead of time. The national registry number, state license number, type of provider. Even the signature can be stored so that every time you complete the exam, it'll insert in the right places on the 5875 and on the medical certificate. Once I complete the exam, this is where we do our final error check, looking for missing fields, check boxes, inconsistency, and dates. And once the exam is complete, we'll get a confirmation. And so this is our confirmation page. It shows you that the exam's complete. It's been added to the FMCSA reporting. It's automatically gone to the National Registry. And now you can view and print both the certificate and the long form. You can print them separately or together, and you can print the certificate in small size or a large size. And we display a summary here of the driver's name, their result, their exam date, who did the exam, and when their certificate expires. So I'll just open up the file here, and you'll be able to see what the forms look like. So standard form that you're used to using. Everything's complete, nice, neat, legible. All the signatures we've collected, all the check boxes are filled in. You can now print this out to any Wi-Fi printer in your office, or to any printer if you're doing it from a desktop. Print this out and give it to the driver. No need to save extra copies because, like I said, we save everything electronically. You can always search and retrieve for the information if you get audited or a call from an inspector or you need to do a reprint. It's always available to you from wherever you're at. And then if you're using the client access portal, that information is available immediately to Larry's company, in this case, ABC Company, can log in and they can view this same summary and are able to view and print the documents as they need to. They don't have to wait for Larry to come back to the office or the terminal with the paperwork, and you don't have to fax them anything or email them anything. They have immediate access to it for their drivers. So the pricing starts at $99 per examiner. It's unlimited exams, unlimited document storage. You can have as many companies accessing the portal as you'd like. There's free support and free training. We have a 24/7 help desk. I should mention that. So it's just strictly licensed by the number of examiners, certified medical examiners that are in the system. So at 3 examiners, there's a multi-examiner discount that would take your price to $89. So your price would be, say, $90 times 3 currently would be about $270 a month. And again, that's unlimited exams. And you can also have as many other user types. So everyone involved in the process, whether they're a certified examiner or not. So your front desk people, your administrative people, medical assistants, everyone should have their own ID and password so we can keep track of who did what, when, and where for audit purposes. But there's no additional charge for licensing for any of those other user types. I'm going to switch over to you, right, Larry? There you go. It's over to you.
Great. I just want to, Rich mentioned that we're combining the activation of the 3B exam software application with the NRCME seminar series. So when you activate, some of you are already in the series, I realize that, but when you activate, you're going to get 6 months of the series for free, and then there's going to be a reduced monthly fee after that. So whatever you're paying now is going to get reduced to $29 a month. So with that, as you know, we've been going through the series, and we've got all these lessons already in here. We do one of these every month, and some of the popular ones are the medications that we talked about, where we go through all the prohibited and the cautionary medications, and we have lists and lists in here. And then when you combine all this information with what you're going to get in the software, you'll really be well equipped to know what to do when you come across these medications. We have the sleep apnea module. We have cardiovascular, respiratory, alcohol, substance abuse. This month we're doing diabetes. So every month there's just a great topic, and we always get lots of interest and questions on those. So that's that. And then the other thing I want to just show you is not show you, but just have available for you is you should have a button that if you're interested in activating your 3B exam, you can click the button and go over to that page. It looks like this. Hopefully you see that and get to that. And then, so while you're reviewing that, and once you do activate, you would do that first. Once we see that you're activating, then you'll get a link for the free seminar series. So that will come after your activation. So the other question is, we talked about the motor carriers on the back end getting the reports. Can you just talk a little bit about how the drivers submit their information? So in other words, they don't have to have a clipboard and fill out a form and then that has to be input. You can just hand them a tablet, or they can even do it at home. Is that right?
Yeah. So when we were looking at the interface and you saw all the tabs, and I think I mentioned it in the demo, but when you send an email to the driver, if they're doing it remotely, we call that a pre-fill link. They can get that either as a text or an email. When they click on that link, they log into a secure website, and when they log in, the only thing that they see are the tabs and the sections that they're responsible for. So they would see the release tab if you're using that. They would see the driver tab for their demographic information, and they would see their health history. So those are the only sections that they would see. They would complete that information and save it so that when they arrive in the office, that information is completed. If it's a walk-in driver or a driver that doesn't, even though you send him the link, doesn't do that at home, when they come in, you would either select their exam from the active exams, or you would add the exam and then hand them a tablet. So instead of handing them a clipboard with paper forms, they would sit down and they would log in to their sections and complete that information electronically in the office. So same interface, just without all the provider sections. And again, we require them to complete all the fields and answer all the questions before they're able to save it. And then if they're doing it in the office, they would just hand that tablet back to the front desk. There's no handing tablets back and forth. None of the information is saved on the actual device. So once they go back into the exam room, anyone who's back there working with the driver would log in to their laptop or tablet or their PC to see that information.
Great.
I see some other questions on here, Larry, about reporting to the FMCSA and the MEAA. So a couple of things there. So the first thing is that we are an official third-party organization. And so we've got that designated status from the FMCSA. And so all the reporting that we do is electronic. But we're also an MEAA. So before the TPO status was available, we've actually been doing electronic reporting to the FMCSA. Like I said, we were the first ones to kind of figure out the technology of doing that. And so we were actually doing it electronically before the official TPO status was available. And so you can actually designate us as an MEAA, and we do that reporting automatically and electronically. So the answer to Lynette's question is no. Even if you are designating us as an MEAA instead of a TPO, it's an electronic and automatic process. So, a couple of benefits of us doing the reporting are, one, we guarantee that you're in compliance. And even though you're not required to report within 24 hours yet, you'll need to do that next year in June. Now it's still 30 days from the end of the month in which the exam was completed. But our reporting is almost instantaneous. It's generally within just a few minutes of the exam being completed, and it's almost always the same day the exam is completed. So we're already ahead of what the requirement will be, and there's no way that we could do that. We have over 1,000 users, and thousands of exams are going through our system on a daily basis. So we're not doing it manually. It's electronic. And, the main reason for that is that you don't want typos and you don't want people rekeying it. So
we're eliminating that manual process for you. We're giving you the peace of mind of knowing that you're in compliance. We also incidentally recognize whether you've done 0 exams, and we'll report the no exams performed on your behalf as well to make sure that you're in compliance with that requirement. So that kind of answers, I think, Bridget and Lynette's question. And then for Patricia, regarding the certificates. So we have 2 sizes. We have a large size, which is almost the size of a full 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And then we have a small size, which is reduced as far down as what the FMCSA will allow. So it's not a card size, but it is a size that can be tri-folded into a driver's wallet so that they can carry that. The FMCSA guideline is that you can resize the certificate, you just can't reformat it. And so that includes all the fine print above and below the actual information. So we've scaled it down as small as we possibly can without making any of the information illegible, which is one of the requirements. The important thing there is that even though I know a lot of the drivers are still kind of demanding a card from you, the regulation is that the driver really only needs to carry the paper with them for a couple of weeks until the information, and this is for the CDL holders, but the non-CDL holders obviously have to carry it longer. But once the information is reported to their state driver's license authority, that information gets into the CDL database. Everything's in the computer. So, really the inspectors and the folks at the weigh station and the patrolmen should be finding evidence of that certificate in the system rather than requesting that card that all the drivers are used to carrying. So that should answer that question for you, Patricia.
Great, good questions. Anyone else? Okay, I think we covered everything. Can't think of anything we didn't cover. The only other thing I guess we didn't cover maybe is I spoke about the the NRCME series, and again, some folks are already in that. But I get the clinical questions through the series, usually in the comments area. But we're also going to have in the exam software, there's going to be an Ask Larry button that you can also get your questions over to me. Even while you're seeing patients. And although I may not be available absolutely real time, it is another way to get access to me when you have those difficult cases. So there we go. That's what we've got for you.
Yeah, I was going to mention that, Larry, is that just so that everyone knows that we've got the 3B exam brand here, but when you activate this through Dr. Earl, everything will be rebranded for you. So, if you're part of the series and the UCMentor team, what you'll see, it's the same product, but you'll see a logo that says UCMentor DOT, and then that'll include the Ask Larry button, and it'll give you direct access to Dr. Earl through 3B exam for some of those more complex exams or additional questions that you might need assistance with. So I wanted to mention
a few extras when you do it through here. Lynette says, "Can we brand our page for employers?"
So I'll maybe leave that one up to you, Larry. I'm not sure if the question, Lynette, is do you want your brand on it, or are you saying that you want the employer's
I guess
on
the
portal on their side?
I guess she's saying, on the portal they want to identify their practice.
Yeah, so that's something that we can do. We would just need that was a yes. I'm not sure was that you answering yes, Larry?
No, I think Lynette is saying yes, they would like their logo on the portal so their clients understand that it's access to their practice. And it's being brought to them by their practice.
So by default, Lynette, what happens is when your clients log into the portal, there's a login screen that Not sure if we can brand the login screen. That's something I would have to look into. But once they're on the landing page, once they're on their home page, and the client portal looks slightly different because obviously they're not managing the actual physicals. They're just, they have access to exams and driver lists. So it's a much simpler interface that they have. But again, it's a similar dashboard look and feel. So when they log in there, they'll see, either the 3B exam or the UCMentor DOT logo, and then they would see, your practice name and information there. So I think we can explore the possibility of, instead of just having the name of your practice, it could also be branded with your practice's logo. Not sure if we can strip out the other branding or not, but that's something that we could look into. I think we could probably make that happen for you if it's important.
Okay, thanks, Rich. Anything else? Okay, great questions. Okay, so just so you have it available, I don't know if you're activating now or if you want to ask some more questions after the seminar, after the webinar, that's always fine. Just make sure you click the button there that does say, activate 3B exam. That'll just bring up a window that you can, that you can just bookmark. So if you're not doing it now, it's available for you. And we'll send you a link later, but just so you have it, that's you can go ahead and click that now and just have it available. And if there's no other questions, I guess we can let everyone get back to work. So thanks, Rich, for the demonstration. It's a great software product. I'm real excited to be working with you. And all the folks, most of you, again, I'm working with you in one way or another already. So it just adds another element to our relationship, which really helps us, bring you the kinds of support that you need in your practice. So I'm excited about that as well. So any questions afterwards, just please email me. You've got my email, and we'll be in touch as well. Okay, thanks, everyone.